What's up, everybody? Welcome in the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman. Thank you guys so much for joining us during our weekly live shows where we go live before every single game day and we break down the latest around your favorite football team. Super excited to talk about it today. Going to be talking about a lot of the Houston Texans Week 3 matchup, what I'm looking for, keys to victory for the Vikings, and the whole nine there. Then also we got to talk about Kwon Alexander. The Vikings are working out veteran linebacker, or they worked him out yesterday, and they're going to hopefully make a decision on him here in the near future. But if you guys love Sam Darnold and want to show number 14 some love, let's get the skulls going down below in the live chat. As I saw a pretty cool video on Twitter the other day. It was like showing Sam Darnold when he was with the New York Jets, and then it flashed to him with the Minnesota Vikings, and it was just crazy how different he looks, how much happier he seems in Minnesota. And this is a guy who's been scolded. I mean, throughout his NFL career, everybody wrote him off. After his rookie year, people were already calling him a bust, and I'm sure that got to him a little bit. So that just makes me happy to see that, he is ready to go. So Reen and Angie saying Skull, Tom Lyle saying Samuel Dimes, Z Cool saying 14, Reen and Angie saying Skull as well, Scott Murdoch saying Skull. Shout out to you, man. Nikki J. Word saying Skull. Lisa saying Skull from Boise, Idaho. Shout out to you, Lisa. The Gray Warden. Shout out to you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Emmanuel Carrasco saying Skull. What's up, man? How you doing? But Nikki J. Word saying we need an injury report on Jefferson. Kevin O'Connell today said he will be limited in practice throughout the week, but he fully expects him to go this Sunday. So no concern there for Justin Jefferson. I do think Addison, if I had to call it right now, I'm going to say Addison doesn't play. I don't think the Vikings are going to want to risk that ankle injury for the rest of the season, but you never know. So we'll wait on the Addison front, but Jefferson will be out there, no doubt about it. But hey, speaking about the game this Sunday, who you got? Let me know down below in the live chat. Give me a V for the Vikings or a T for the Texans. I think it's going to be a great game. I think this is definitely the Vikings' toughest test of the season so far. I think the Texans are a much better football team than the San Francisco 49ers. I honestly think they have a better coaching staff, as crazy as that sounds. But I think with Bobby Slowick calling the plays offensively and D'Amico Ryans calling the plays defensively, I think they're a much, much better team than the Niners. And, I don't want Vikings fans because I think this is a coin flip game. I think this could go either way. I don't want us to act like the season's falling apart if we don't beat the Houston Texans. Like, this is a team that could be playing in the Super Bowl. Like, they most likely, in my opinion, will be in the AFC Championship. They are that good. They have a top 5 offense. They have a top 5 defense. They are honestly one of the best young teams I have ever seen in NFL history. Like, all of their top-end talent, all of their blue chippers are all under the age of 25. However, I say all that to say this. The Vikings on any given week can beat anybody in the NFL. When you have the coaching staff with Kevin O'Connell, Brian Flores, you will be able to hang in every single football game because they are set up for success. And they also have a ton of talent, on their roster or on the Vikings roster. So, it's going to be a good game. Danielle Hunter, Stephon Diggs returning. Excited to watch that. Z Cool in the chat saying up against Hunter. That is a task in itself, but we know his style and have seen it numerous times in practice. Yeah, 74% of the time, or 84% of the time, Danielle has been lined up against the opposing team's right tackle, so he is their left edge. So Brian O'Neill, Danielle Hunter, they saw each other a ton at practice, and they are going to go up against each other for all 4 quarters this Sunday. So I'm excited to watch that. But we'll dive more into our show here in a second, but I do want to tell you guys about one of our sponsors today, and that is Prize Picks. And if you guys download the Prize Picks app and use promo code CLNS, you guys will get $50 instantly when you just play $5. Shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's live show. Now, Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. And all you do, you pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. They actually have a deal going on for the rest of the month of September where if you just take the more on Caleb Williams, half a passing yard, it gets you a free win this month. So that's 2 more weeks of free W's. Don't miss out on this deal on PrizePicks because it's gone once September ends. So download the app today. Use code CONS. Get $50 instantly. And you don't even have to win you don't even have to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks. Run your game. Now, our live show is also sponsored by Factor. Shout out to Factor for sponsoring today's show. And if you guys head to factormeals.com/VikingsChat50 and use code VikingsChat50, you guys will get $50 off or 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code VikingsChat50 at factormeals.com/VikingsChat50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. Now, Factor has 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week. You will always have new flavors to explore with Factor. So if you guys want to crush your wellness goals this month with dietitian-approved meals and ingredients you can trust, head to factormeals.com/VikingsChat50, and you guys will get 50% off your first box and 20% off your next month. That link's in the live chat and description of today's show. But shout out to Factor for sponsoring our live show today. But I want to ask you guys this, back to the content here. Who is the better wide receiver, Justin Jefferson or Stefon Diggs? Now, I better see a whole lot of 18s get flooded in the chat, but, just looking back on that trade a couple years ago, and now Stefon Diggs is making his return on one of the better teams in the NFL with the Houston Texans. It is hilarious to see where his career has gone, but, I think it's no doubt 18 here. Frankly, it's not close. You could put any receiver below Justin Jefferson right here, and I'll be typing my 18s as well. But shout out to Purple and Gold Bars, Z Cool, Roger Bong, Reen and Angie, the Gray Warden, 124 Cappy in the chat, Nevada Maverick, Trio Head Live, and Purple and Gold Bars. Shout out to you guys. But you guys let me know this. Name that X Factor for this weekend. Who is it? Who is the biggest X Factor this Sunday versus the Texans? Again, you could go Sam Darnold any given week, but for me, biggest X Factor. Honestly, I haven't really thought about this too much in terms of just a player. Biggest X Factor for the Vikes. Honestly, I think I'm going to go Stephon Gilmore here. I still think people are very much underrating Nico Collins, receiver for the Texans. I think he's the top 5 receiver in the league. And if you would say that right now, people probably look at you side-eyed. But I promise you, once the season wraps up, we will be talking about Nico Collins after he goes for 1,500 yards, 12 touchdowns, that he is a top 5 receiver in the National Football League. So, for me, Stephon Gilmore, he's got a tough task this weekend. But also the tackles for the Vikings, like Darisaw, O'Neal. You're going against Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter. I'll tell you what, even a guy like Jordan Addison, if he does end up playing, or whoever that wide receiver 2 is, because they got Derek Stingley. He'll be one-on-one with Jefferson, shadowing him all across the football field. And then also they got Kamari Laster, rookie out of Georgia, I believe, and he is an absolute stud. He's a monster. He had an interception against the Bears this past week, but a true lockdown corner. So, we'll be talking about the game a little bit here, but I do want to talk about a Kwon Alexander workout to start off today's show, as the Vikings worked him out yesterday, and I think it makes a whole lot of sense to bring him in. Buzzword that we always say, versatile players fit with Brian Flores. That's what Kwon is, so it makes a whole lot of sense that the Vikings are working him out. But we also are going to talk about if the Vikings are in trouble going against the Houston Texans here. I think there are a couple things that if the Vikings don't do them, could be a long Sunday for Minnesota, but I think they will. That's why I got the Vikings winning this game. I think I said on my show yesterday, I think I said 26-14. I think the Vikings defense really cements himself as the best defense in the National Football League after this week. And I think Kevin O'Connell and the weapons we have will be good enough to get us to 24 points this upcoming weekend. You just want to fit that real quick. Yeah. Then we will have a mailbag coming up here in a second. So if you guys use hashtag Vikings, get your question up on the show, get them in the live chat, or you guys can super chat if you guys want to help us out here at Chat Sports. Really goes a long way. So hashtag Vikings in the live chat, or just send in a super chat, and we'll put your question up on screen. I'll answer it. It's one of my favorite things we do here at Chat Sports. So if you guys are ready to go, talk about the Kwon Alexander workout, and then also going over some power rankings coming up here in a second. Hit that thumbs up icon. We're at 23 likes right now. If we can get to 25 likes, we'll start today's show. But Roger saying best offseason ever, no doubt. Quasi was cooking. Harvey saying we break 30 points this week. I hope so. I mean, it is a tough task, guys. Like the Texans, They're a top 5 defense, top 5 offense. And I think the Vikings, top 12 offense, top 5 defense right now. So, I mean, it is going to be a tough task, no doubt, for the Vikes. Z Cool, good question. Appreciate you using hashtag Vikings. We'll get to that. Ryan saying lots of gambling and food delivery ads. Doesn't anyone cook or have an Irish mob bookie anymore? That is good stuff, Ryan. I love that. Harvey saying hashtag Vikings. Will the Vikings end the season with the most sacks? Good question, Harvey. They're number 1 in the NFL right now. They'll be top 5, I think. You know, you got 4 or 5 or 4 elite edge rushers now. I mean, Patrick Jones, the resurgence he's had in his career, like a breakout year. Who would have thought he would have 4 sacks and 4 TFLs throughout the first week? So, you know, I hope so, Harvey. Normally, if you lead the league in sacks, you're doing something right, and hopefully equates to a lot of wins. But shout out to Roger Bonks and his $10 super chat saying we shocked the NFL this week. I hope so, Raj. I think this would be a win for the Vikings, where it's like, not just confidence within the locker room, but also sending a message to the whole league where, you could say Vikings beat up on a bad Giants team. You could say they just had a good day against the Niners and the Niners had a bad day. I get that, but I do think if the Vikings beat the Texans, I think it's going to be undisputed. Like, oh, they're a top 5 team in the NFL this year. Like, Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores are that good. Sam Darnold is playing like a top 12 quarterback. And I'll also tease some thoughts here in a second. But Z Cool also sent in a super chat saying, what do you think of the new power rankings? We'll actually dive into that in about 15 minutes or so. Don't want to tease it too much right now, Z Cool, but I'm assuming you're going to stay tuned. I'll unleash my actually own power rankings for the NFL season and also go over like ESPN, CBS Sports, Sports Illustrated. We got them all. So we will talk about that here in a second. But Z Cool, I appreciate you, man. Reen saying, I think after beating the Texans, the league will finally respect the Vikings. Yeah, I mean, I will say the Vikings were rated higher in the power rankings than I thought. I thought still people would have them at around 15 to 16 and just kind of say, hey, you beat a team at home. Maybe you just got lucky against the Niners. But I was pleasantly surprised to see the Vikings even top 10 in some power rankings. I thought there was no chance. So if they do beat the Texans this week, you will see the Vikings top 5. Even Colin Cowherd had the Vikings at, I think, 6th in his power rankings, which is pretty cool. So, we'll see. We shall see. Shout out to Roger saying from 32 to top 15 in 2 weeks. Hey, win this week, you'll be top 5, no doubt. Crazy how things can change. Crazy, crazy. Z Cool, appreciate you. But, yeah, let's dive into it. Shout out to you guys for tuning in today. We're going to break down the Kwon Alexander workout and talking some power rankings sponsored by Z Cool. Let's get it. Could the Vikings be signing linebacker Kwon Alexander? Well, Kwon actually had a workout with Minnesota yesterday, and all the signs are pointing to he may be ending up with the Minnesota Vikings this season. Then also, I went and I looked at all the latest power rankings from some of the biggest media publications out there like ESPN, Sports Illustrated, CBS Sports, and I just wanted to see where the Vikings stand in those power rankings and also talk about it. Are the Vikings pretenders or are they contenders? That's coming up here in a second. But I want you to get you guys an updated look at our Week 3 sub battle, not Super Chat battle. But right now, Vikings Now, we have picked up 78 subs this week, where our Texans Today show has only picked up 54. So I want to beat them on the field on Sunday, but also beat them within the walls here at Chat Sports. If you guys haven't already, hit that sub button. I put the goal as 100 subs on today's show. So if you guys want to help me out and make me look good for my bosses, hit that sub button. It's a free and easy way to support the show. Let's start off with the Kwon Alexander workout. So this was tweeted out by Aaron Wilson yesterday, as he said the Vikings have worked out Kwon Alexander, Ikoy Boy-Do. I have no idea how to pronounce that. Apologies if I pronounce that wrong. But also Caleb Johnson and Damarion Williams. But I do want to focus in on Kwon Alexander, as he is really the only player on this list that I think has a chance to make the roster. So he is 30 years old, height and weight at 6'1", 227 pounds. Now, he was a 4th-round pick many years ago, actually, pick 124, and he last played with the Steelers in 2023 this past season. Did not get signed before training camp, still is unsigned, and the Vikings brought him in for a workout. But let's talk about the numbers here for Kwon. First, so last season with the Steelers, he is definitely not the same guy that he once was when he was with like the 49ers and the Saints. Because when he was with both those organizations, he was a very physical, downhill linebacker. We could also blitz off the edge. And he was honestly one of my favorite players to watch, more specifically when he was with the San Francisco 49ers. But this past year with the Steelers, in only 9 games, he didn't really do much in the stat sheet. You know, he had 41 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, which is okay. He had an interception, also had a sack there as well. But this is going to be the key word, and this is the key word with Brian Flores' defense: versatility. Kwon Alexander is a very, very versatile linebacker. But let's kick it over to PFF here. They've graded him out pretty much the same over the last 5 years. No real big differences. You know, his overall grades have floated around that 59 to 63 range. He has actually struggled in the run defense part of PFF's grading, but honestly, I think that's obviously not a good thing. But with the Vikings 2 linebackers, Pace and Cashman, you can almost, make up for Kwon not being the best, run defending linebacker. But the 2 stats I want to focus in on here: the pass rush grade and the coverage grade on the far right of your screen. He has graded out very highly in both these categories over the last 5 years. And those are 2 things from the Vikings linebacking core that I don't think they necessarily have. I think Cashman's a great coverage linebacker, but Pace isn't. And I think Pace is a great blitzing linebacker, and Cashman is as well, but maybe not as good as a guy like Kwon Alexander is. Now, I also do think this could be a depth thing for the Vikings because Grugier-Hill, he doesn't play too much. Brian Asamoah doesn't play too much, so maybe the Vikings are a little concerned if Pace or Cashman would have to miss time, that they would have to put in one of those backups, and I don't really think they would be the biggest fan of it. So that's why I would love this move. Give me Kwon Alexander on the Vikings. I'm not saying this is a needle-moving move where it's like, oh, we just got Kwon Alexander, we're going to the Super Bowl. He's not the same guy he once was, but I also think he would bring a sense of physicality, a sense of just urgency to this team, and he also brings some leadership. I think he'd be a great locker room guy. He plays with swagger. He plays with confidence, and I think that's what you need to play in this Brian Flores system. And he is a Brian Flores guy, like a linebacker who can get after the quarterback. He can drop in the coverage. Yes, he is not the best in terms of a run-defending linebacker, but the Vikings already have some guys who are great at that. And I think if you just add him next to a guy like Blake Cashman, it would be great. And Cashman's off to a great start to this season. And if you just add more talent and just add more depth to this linebacker room, you just make this front 7 a whole lot better. Now, Cashman's been unreal this season. 9 tackles. He has a sack, 3 PBUs, and, PFF is loving what he's doing. 81.2 overall grade and graded out 88.9 in coverage so far. And, if you would add Kwon Alexander to a Vikings front 7 that is already very much legit, that was honestly one of my bigger concerns heading into the year is how physical the front 7 would feel, how dominant they would feel. I thought they were about a middle-of-the-pack group, and if you want to be a top 5 defense in the league, I think you need your front 7 to truly, truly be legit. So I think adding a guy like Kwon Alexander would definitely help the Vikings. But again, it's not going to be a huge needle-moving move. But you're just adding more talent to this defense, and in my opinion, I am very much excited to watch this team play. Now, also about this front 7, one quick note, I am still waiting for the Levi Drake Rodriguez game. He has not been active over the last 2 games, but it was just a thought I had earlier today. He looked great in the preseason. Maybe if one of the Vikings interior defensive linemen were to go down, then Levi steps in and has his awesome game. But that's just the point about the Vikings front 7 is they got depth behind these guys. Maybe not as much as at the linebacker group, but also at the defensive tackle. Taki Taimani, he had a couple nice plays against the San Francisco 49ers. Jalen Redmond, he popped in the preseason. And we just talked about LDR. I'm excited to watch him play. But, overall, I think this Vikings front 7 has definitely impressed me this season. And just adding a guy like Kwon Alexander, I think would be a very, very good move. But, hey, you guys let me know. Would you sign Kwon Alexander? Give me an S for sign or a P for pass down below in the comment section. Curious to see what you guys have to say. Coming up next year on the show, are the Minnesota Vikings contenders or are they pretenders? I'll give you guys my thoughts and go over some power rankings that have came out over the last couple of days. But before we dive into that, I do want to give a massive, massive shout out to today's presenting sponsor, and that is Factor. If you guys head to factormeals.com/VikingsChat50 and use code VikingsChat50, you guys will get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code VikingsChat50 at factormeals.com/VikingsChat50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. Now, Factor offers 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week. You will always have new flavors to explore. So if you guys want to crush your wellness goals this month with dietitian-approved meals and ingredients you can trust, Factor Meals is the move. Now, make your day delicious from breakfast to dessert and stay fueled with easy options from Factor. And if you guys even want to treat yourself to restaurant-quality meals that feature premium ingredients like a filet, shrimp, or blackened salmon, Factor Meals offers that as well. So head to factormeals.com/VikingsChat50 and use code VikingsChat50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code VikingsChat50 at factormeals.com/VikingsChat50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. That link for you guys is in the comment section and description of today's show. So is this a fluke start for the Minnesota Vikings, or are they a legit Super Bowl contender? Well, if I was looking across the whole NFL, I think the Vikings have put out some of the best tape so far throughout this NFL season. Like, I think it's not just the record for the Vikings, which is why, people are finally starting to hop on this bandwagon, but it's just the tape. I mean, you handled the Giants for all 4 quarters. You handled the 49ers for all 4 quarters. The score looked a little closer because Fred Warner decided to go Superman in that game and keep San Francisco in it. But I think the Vikings, just on tape, when you're watching the All-22, they have put out the best film. And it gets me back to this, and this is the whole shebang with the Minnesota Vikings. If Sam Darnold plays like a top 12 quarterback in the NFL just this season, they can win a Super Bowl. And I fully mean that. Like, I think we've noticed across the NFL the last couple of years, and more specifically with the Niners, like Brock Purdy, I don't think he's a top 15 talent at the quarterback position, but he runs that offense extremely, extremely well. And if Sam Darnold can do that with this Vikings team, with the weapons, with the defense, they can 100% win the Super Bowl this season. I fully mean that. A couple of you guys are probably looking at me crazy right now, but if Darnold plays like a top 12 QB, I'm not kidding. The Vikings could be hoisting the Lombardi. But I do want to check out some of the power rankings across other publications. So The Athletic actually have the Vikings coming in as the 7th best team in the league, which is up from 14 the week before. CBS Sports showing a lot of love to the Minnesota Vikings, had them moving up 13 spots this past week from 18 to 5. NFL.com not believing in the Vikings too much so far, as they only have them at 15th in the power rankings. ESPN at 11, and Pro Football Talk, shout out Mike Florio, has them at 11 as well. But I actually want to get you guys my power rankings to close out today's show. Again, these are not the standings. These are my power rankings. So we are going to start off here with a couple of 0-2 teams, actually. I got the Cincinnati Bengals at 10, and I got the Baltimore Ravens at number 9. Still a believer in both these ball clubs. I just think the Bengals, they messed around with the Patriots week 1. They went toe-to-toe with the Chiefs in Kansas City last week. I think they'll figure it out. Very similar with the Ravens. They went head-to-head and almost won a game in Kansas City, and then they should have beat the Raiders last week, but they fell apart. But I think both those teams will turn it around. Then I have another shocker in the NFL. How about the New Orleans Saints? They got the best offense in the league right now. I got them at 8th in my power rankings. Then I got the Detroit Lions, still a division rival. I'm still a believer in them. I just think it was bad loss this past week to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but I still think they're a tremendous football team, top to bottom, great coaching staff. I still think Detroit, has a chance to do big things this year. But the team that I did not expect to be this good early is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Their win against the Detroit Lions last week was fantastic. Going into Detroit with 4 of your 5 starters out in your secondary is incredible. So that's why I got them at number 6. Then I got to put Jim Harbaugh and the Los Angeles Chargers at 5. I just think it's simple. It is a coach, quarterback, offensive, defensive line league. They are A+ at all of those positions. They can run the ball. They got the league's leading rushers so far in J.K. Dobbins. I think the Chargers are just only going to get better as the year goes on. But number 4 for me, I got the Minnesota Vikings. And, I wanted to put them higher, but I just can't right now. But I do think the Vikings have an argument, throughout the first 2 weeks to say we are the fourth best team in the NFL. You handle the Giants in week 1 on the road. Then you handle the 49ers at home. Hey, call me biased. I'm drinking too much purple Kool-Aid, but I got Minnesota at number 4. Now, number 3 for me was actually my Super Bowl team before the season. I got the Buffalo Bills. I think their identity of going to a complete ground game and power run team was great for them. Moving off Stephon Diggs, I thought was a great move because now Josh Allen can kind of just play, a little field general at the quarterback position instead of trying to have to force the ball to a wide receiver and Stephon Diggs. But I do actually have Diggs at number 2. I think the Houston Texans are a wagon of a team. I think you can make the argument they are the best team in the NFL right now. They have one of the best defenses. They have one of the best quarterbacks. They have one of the best coaching staffs. They have some of the best weapons. A little shaky at the offensive line. Maybe the Vikings can take advantage this weekend, but they got a great ball club down there in Houston. And then, of course, I have to have the Kansas City Chiefs at 2-0. Even though they were a couple plays away from being 0-2, and I think people would have been freaking out if Likely's foot got inbounds or if the Bengals didn't have that stupid defensive pass interference at the end of that game. But those are my power rankings right now. You guys let me know, though. The Vikings are the blank best team in the NFL. I got them at 4th right now. Crazy to even say that out loud. If you would have told me that a month ago, be like, hey, you're going to be talking about the Vikings being a top 5 team in the league, I would have said you're crazy. But, and life in the NFL changes so fast, and I think the Vikings are definitely proving themselves. So you guys let me know. Vikes are the blank best team in the NFL. And if you guys want to give me a follow on Twitter as well, that's the handle. At Pat Sieps. If you guys give me a follow over there, I'll give you guys a follow right back. But thank you guys so much for watching today's show. As always, Skol Vikes. Alrighty. You guys let me know. Vikings are the blank best team in the NFL. Rocky, my dad saying no San Francisco in the top 10. No, I don't. I think the Niners are getting old. I think a lot of us maybe thought the Niners' downfall would have been maybe next season, but I don't love their defensive coordinator. I don't think Brock Purdy. I think Brock Purdy's a good quarterback. I don't think he's anything special though. And they got injuries. So now Debo's going to be out for a couple weeks. McCaffrey's on IR. Brandon Ayuk looks like he's gassed. Trent Williams. I mean, he got beat a couple times last week. When was the last time you saw Trent Williams get beat ever? And I don't think their defense is as good as it was in years past. You still got Bosa. You still got Warner. But that other 9 on that defense, I just don't think the Niners are going to be as dominant as they have been, where they do feel like the Avengers, and it's there's no chance you can stop them. I just think the Niners missed their Super Bowl window, and I would be shocked if they get back to the Super Bowl this past season. But we'll have to wait and see. We will have to wait and see on that. Roger saying we are deep across the board. Vikings are a good team. They are a very good team. It is a GM coach quarterback league, and if you make your quarterback's life super easy like the Vikings are for Sam Darnold, Vikings will win a lot of games this upcoming season. Tom Lyle saying Gilmore was a great pickup. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, Gilmore's been great this year, guys. I've been actually trying to watch a whole lot more film, like the all 22 of these games, and the more I've watched just all 22 by myself, is the more I appreciate Brian Flores and Kevin O'Connell. I couldn't imagine being an opposing quarterback trying to play against Brian Flores because, this is also a point I wanted to make, and this is just across the NFL. I think quarterbacks lately, and the ones more recently that have came out of the draft, I think they are so bad at processing the game in comparison to quarterbacks 10, 15, 20 years ago. Whereas the Tom Brady's, where it was the Joe Flacco's, Phillip Rivers, Drew Brees', where they were so good at pre- and post-snap figuring out what the coverage is. And now I think nowadays, these NFL teams, when they're evaluating quarterbacks, I mean, Anthony Richardson was the 4th overall pick. That was for a reason. That was because of the intangibles. That's because how big, how fast he was. He had all types of potential, but Anthony Richardson can't process the defense whatsoever. That's why the Colts are 0-2. That's why they've been struggling. And when you have a guy like Brian Flores who kind of runs this what the fuck defense where it's like you don't know what's coming on any given play. And with quarterbacks being as bad as they are at processing the game right now in the NFL, like the Vikings are going to be a very, very tough test for any quarterback for the next couple of next couple of years, as long as Flores stays around. But, I think CJ Stroud, I think he's a top 3 quarterback, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But it is going to be a tough test. Like this is the toughest game on the Vikings schedule left, I think. And honestly, I don't think it's close. Like even in Green Bay later on in the year, I guess that would be week 4. Like I think this is no doubt the toughest test for the Vikes. As I'm looking at it right now, the spread is down to 2. Texans only favored by 2. That's crazy. I mean, that spread before the year was probably at 6.5. But we'll see. We'll see. The 2-0 Minnesota Vikings. Can they get the 3-0? But we are going to be talking about what the Vikings need to do against the Texans, or else we may not be celebrating a 3rd straight victory Monday here on the channel. But let me just take a sip of this water. We'll dive into it, guys. Alrighty. The bettors think the Vikes got this. No, the bettors are all over the Texans, which is a good thing. Oh, gotcha. Yeah. No, you're good. Yeah. All right, appreciate it. Tom Lyles, another home field dub. Yes, sir. Gotta protect the bank. Gotta protect the bank. But let's talk about a little game preview for week 3 here. I already put one out on the channel yesterday, but I just want to give you guys more thoughts as, the more I've looked into it here over the last couple of days. So let's dive into it. If the Vikings want to get their 3rd straight victory this Sunday, they need to do this. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman. Coming up on today's show, I'm going to be going over what the Vikings need to do to hopefully celebrate their 3rd straight victory Monday here on the channel. But before we dive into that, if you guys want the Vikings to beat the Texans, hit that thumbs up icon. I put the goal on today's show as 750 likes. So if you guys could, don't jinx it. Hit that thumbs up icon, and hopefully we are celebrating another victory Monday here on the channel. But let's first dive into the Texans side of things here. So the Texans are a fantastic football team, and especially on both sides of the football. Overall, PFF has Texans ranked as the 6th best team in the National Football League throughout the first 2 weeks. Offensively, they're ranked 10th. Defensively, 11th. Special teams, 8th. So across the board, very balanced team. It's not like one side of the football is so much better and the other side is not as good. They're balanced. They have stars. And I just want to go over quickly what, 5 things, in my opinion, make the Houston Texans great. And number 1 is CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud, and I think this is on me, I kind of just viewed him as he's a top 10 quarterback heading into this season. When he played like a top 5 quarterback last year, and so far, throughout the first 2 weeks, he's played like a top 5 quarterback yet again. And the numbers don't lie with CJ. He's off to another great start. He just plays within himself. He plays within the offense. He doesn't turn the ball over. And he's a big body. He's a very physical player. And he puts great touch on the football. Everything you could ask for a quarterback, CJ Stroud is that. He is truly the perfect modern-day QB. And he is a killer. He goes for chances. He takes the checkdowns when needed. He takes off and runs when he needs to as well. Every single box you could want checked for a quarterback, CJ Stroud, he kills it. And he is a truly top 3 quarterback in the league. I think you probably go Mahomes, Allen, 1 and 2. Honestly, I think it's undisputed right now. Those are my top 3 quarterbacks. Mahomes, Allen, CJ Stroud. He is fantastic. And, if the Vikings, if they don't slow him down and they let him get going, where he has a couple layups early in the game, maybe he has a couple, middle of the field throws to get him his confidence. He can really, he's kind of like a basketball player. If they see a couple threes go in, he's blacked out for the rest of the game, and he's playing with confidence, and he's putting that ball on the line. So Stroud is definitely one of the biggest things that scares me heading into this Sunday. But what also scares me is who the hell CJ Stroud is throwing the ball to. Nico Collins, I raved about him during my preview, and I will not shut up about this guy until game day. He is fantastic, and he is only one part of the Texans, honestly, great weapons they have. And I do include offensive linemen as weapons. Shout out to Jim Harbaugh for that one. But Laramie Tunsil, top 5 left tackle in the league. Joe Mixon, most likely won't play versus the Vikings, so it will most likely be Cam Akers. Keep that in mind, but he's a good weapon. Then you got 3 unreal wide receivers. Stephon Diggs, he is the best number 3 receiver possibly in NFL history. Nico Collins, a true top 5 wideout in the NFL. And then you got the gadget guy. You got the deep threat in Tank Dell. Like, all 3 of those receivers, they complement each other so well. Like, Stephon Diggs is that possession receiver. He can create space in a phone booth. Nico Collins, that true X, that true physical receiver of that Andre Johnson, like Alshon Jeffrey, Brandon Marshall build. And then you got the speedster. You got the gadget guy, Tank Dell. You can get him on jet sweeps. You can throw screens to him. You could just get him the ball in open field, and he'll make plays happen. This Texans team is loaded. And not only C.J. Stroud, not only the weapons, they got an elite defense. That performance they put on against the Chicago Bears this past Sunday night was unbelievable. They had Caleb Williams seeing ghosts throughout that entire game. They pressured him like crazy, and the stats don't lie with this defense as well. They're highly ranked throughout the NFL. Yards per game, they're 5th. Pass yards per game, they're top 10. Rush yards per game, top 7. Points per game is at 12th, but they also let up a garbage time touchdown against the Colts. So that should probably be a whole lot lower. Third down percentage, actually they do struggle a little bit there, only ranking 21st in the league. But from what I saw about this Texans defense, they are physical. They play fast. Yak will be huge for the Vikings this weekend. If Jefferson, Addison, if he ends up playing, or a guy like Jalen Naylor, if they can really, force a couple missed tackles, turn like those 5-yard outs to maybe 11-yard outs, that could be a margin-getting victory for the Vikings this weekend. But, this Texans defense, they are legit, man, and they're going to make, or at least they're going to try to make life hell for Kevin O'Connell and his coaching staff. But speaking about coaching staff here, I think the Vikings going into every single week will have a significant advantage in the coaching staff department. Not this week. This is honestly as even as it's going to get. They're just the opposite of the Minnesota Vikings. They got DeMeco Ryans. He's calling plays for the defense. He's their head coach. He's fantastic. Top 5 defensive play caller in the league. And then they got this young offensive guru, Bobby Slowick. He's their offensive coordinator. He's going to be calling plays for the Texans against the Vikes this Sunday. He will probably get a head coaching job, if not next year, then one of the years after. But, normally every week I'm saying the Vikings with Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores, they have the advantage in terms of just overall coaching staff. But this week, DeMeco Ryans, Bobby Slowick, it's just going to be some of the most aesthetically pleasing football this Sunday. Like, it's just going to be high quality, and that's what I love watching. Like, I'm a diehard Vikings fan, but I also just love watching good football. And the Texans and the Vikings coaching staffs, we will be watching good football this weekend. But what also makes Houston great and very, very dangerous, and, we will talk about how the Vikings can win here in a second. Don't want to show too much love to the opposition here on today's show, but they are young and hungry. And if you just look at their blue chippers on their roster, they're all under the age of 25, man. Like Derek Stingley, already one of the best cornerbacks in the National Football League. He's 23 years old. C.J. Stroud, I feel like he's been in the league for 5 years. He's 22 years old only. Kamari Lassiter, he's 21. He's a dog. Will Anderson coming off the edge, 23 years old. He's fantastic as well. Then you even got Nico Collins, in my opinion, a top 5 wideout in the league. He is only 25. These guys are young. They are hungry. They want to get after it every single week. And this isn't like a Kansas City Chiefs situation where, maybe the Chiefs are looking at the Vikings, a game in September. Maybe they won't get up for it too much. I promise you, everybody on this Texans roster will also be playing for number 14 or, now number 1 with the Texans, Stephon Diggs. So this is a hungry group. They're going to be getting after it. They're going to be ready. But, we will talk about how the Vikes can beat them here in a second. But you guys let me know this here first. Who is your favorite Vikings player of all time? Mine is Adrian Peterson. A dark horse for me is a guy like Sidney Rice. But I'm just curious. I ask you guys a lot of questions on our shows here at Chat Sports. But I'm just curious. Who's your guys' favorite Vikings player of all time? Let me know your thoughts down below. Coming up next year, how do the Vikings celebrate a 3rd straight victory Monday versus the Houston Texans? We'll talk about that here in a second. But first off, got to tell you guys about today's presenting sponsor, and that is Prize Picks. If you guys download the Prize Picks app, use that promo code CLNS. You guys will get $50 instantly when you play just $5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. And the best part is you don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Now, PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. And PrizePicks, unlike other apps, it is just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Now, they got a sweet deal going on for the whole month of September where one Caleb Williams passing yard gets you 1 win on PrizePicks. That's right. Only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September. That is 2 more weeks of free W's, so don't miss out on this deal on PrizePicks because it is gone once September ends. So download the PrizePicks app today, use code CLNS, and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need the win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. So how do the Vikings beat the Houston Texans? Number one for me, you got to confuse C.J. Stroud. That's very challenging. Stroud's a top 3 quarterback. We already talked about it. But maybe you have Stroud seeing ghosts this Sunday like Brock Purdy was this past weekend. As you know, if you guys didn't see the viral clip, Brock Purdy went up to Brian Flores after the game and just said, first off, it was like, hey, good game, good game. And then he was like, your scheme is crazy. Hopefully CJ saying the same thing after this Sunday. But, you know, I think the Brian Flores effect is an under-talked about storyline across the whole NFL. And I think with all these quarterbacks coming out right now, the number one thing that I feel like GMs are looking at is potential. Like, there's a reason why guys like Anthony Richardson get drafted so high. I mean, you know, even a guy like Will Levis going in the first round, like these teams are banking on these big physical quarterbacks who are 6'4", 6'5". They can touch every blade of grass on the football field, but they lack in the processing side of the game. And that's where Brian Flores makes it so complicated because he is showing you 7 guys at the line of scrimmage, 8 guys at the line of scrimmage. You don't know what the coverage is until you snap the football. And against most other defenses in the NFL, you can, motion a guy here and there. They'll adjust on defense, and you can, know for the most part what they are going to be running. Against the Vikings and Brian Flores, you have no idea what defense they are in until after you snap the football. That's why I think the Vikings defense has been so successful thus far. It's because these quarterbacks in the league right now, I don't think they're as good as processors as they were back in the 2000s, back in the 1990s. And I think that's where Brian Flores has his biggest advantage against every quarterback on any given week. But, another way to slow down C.J. Stroud and confuse him, stop Nico Collins. This is the most underrated wide receiver in the National Football League, if not the most underrated player. He is 6'4", 215 pounds. He is already lighting it up so far this season with over 250 yards. He reminds me of Andre Johnson, Alshon Jeffrey, Brandon Marshall, these physical wide receivers who, when they're running that deep post, if you're the safety trying to lay a hit on them, you're also thinking about the hit Nico Collins is going to lay on you. But I also do think the Texans wide receiver core is a little, misrepresented, as I think most people think, oh, they got a 3-headed monster. It's Nico, it's Tank, it's Diggs. Their offense is ran through Nico Collins. Diggs and Tank Dell, they're kind of just the icing on the cake. But the actual cake, the actual bread and butter of this team and this passing attack is this bad dude out of Michigan, Nico Collins. So take him away. You'll hopefully be winning another game here in U.S. Bank Stadium. But number 3 for me. This will be a key to victory every single week until this stat is proven wrong. Win the turnover battle. And for another week, the chat stats live on. The Vikings are 19-0 when they win or tie the turnover battle under Kevin O'Connell. Honestly, I think this is one of the craziest stats in the league right now. I mean, the fact that, this could just be, when the Vikings win the turnover battle, they're 19-0. I feel like that's the case with most teams. But just win or tie, the fact that they're undefeated when they tie the turnover battle under KOC, I think that speaks to just how good of a coach he is. Because fumbles, interceptions, sometimes that's a little fluky, and a coach can't really control all that. But, when the Vikings do, handle the turnovers, they win football games. So win the turnover battle, and we'll be celebrating again here on Monday. Number 4 for me, let 18 dominate. Now, Justin Jefferson, he can dominate many different ways. This is either him, obviously going for 4 receptions, 133 yards like he did last week, Or it could be like how he did in week 1, where he was just a distraction. He was a decoy. The Giants, they would double him. They would triple team him. And what did that lead to? Jalen Naylor, wide open touchdowns. Josh Oliver, wide open up the seam, where all the attention goes towards number 18. So if they're going one-on-one with him, which is actually something I'm very curious about, since they obviously got all types of faith in Derek Stingley, as they should. He's a fantastic corner. How good is Derek Stingley going to be against Justin Jefferson? And I'm almost hoping a little bit that the Texans kind of roll the die there a little bit and be like, hey, Stingley, we're leaving you one-on-one with the best weapon in the National Football League. And when the Vikings do have those chances, you got to make them pay for, in my opinion, it would be disrespecting, number 18 there. But last one for me, how the Vikings beat the Texans, matching their physicality. This is a physical football team, and they are just like their head coach. DeMeco Ryans, he's a physical guy. He's an intense guy, and that's how the Texans play out there on the football field. They fly around on defense. It's crisp. It's physical. They play like their hair is on fire, and I think a big way you can match their physicality, you got to run the football. Get this offensive line going downhill. Give the big boys some love, because you ask any offensive lineman, what do you prefer, run or pass blocking? Obviously, it's run blocking. So you give the big boys some love. Maybe we start off the opening drive. Maybe you got like 7 rushes and only 3 passes, and you go score 7 or something like that. But, the Texans, they're going to try to assert their dominance very early in this game. How do you combat that? You give the ball to Aaron Jones and Ty Chandler and play some downhill football this Sunday. But, hey, a little longer video today. If you guys made it to the end, give me a skull down below in the comments section. If you guys do so, I'll show you guys some love on a future video. But also, make sure you guys are following me on Twitter. I'm tweeting about the Vikes all off season and season long. If you guys could, that's a handle right there at Pat Sieps. See you guys next time. Let's go Vikes. All right, appreciate it, fellas. Was Zazy saying Skull? Shout out to you. Okay. Yeah, we are going to be getting into a mailbag, so use hashtag Vikings or Super Chat to get your thoughts up on screen. Hashtag Vikings or Super Chat to get your questions up on screen. Tom Lyles, shout out to you. Reen and M. Mac in the chat. Purple and gold bars. Brady Kick saying Adrian Peterson. Mustard fits the color scheme. Shout out to Dan. Shout out to Roger. Sweet. Shout out to Wazazi. Oh, awesome. Thanks. Eric saying, I think more up-tempo drives with quick hit plays. Yeah, that's also what I'm curious about. Like, what wrinkles does Kevin O'Connell add this week? We saw the pistol last week for the first time, which was something I did not think KOC had in his bag. But, I got full faith in this coaching staff. It's just a tough matchup for the Vikings because, I think if you compare just both teams' rosters, like the Texans have an advantage. And, if you compare both teams' coaching staffs, I think it's about even right now. And, normally and every single week the Vikings are playing, you are giving that nod to our coaching staff. But, when it's just even coaching staff, give the edge to the Texans in terms of just overall roster. Like, it's going to be a tough game. But we got it at home. They got to come play us. You got to protect home field here. And hopefully the Vikes do just that. But shout out to Movie Talks for getting questions. M. Mac as well. Appreciate you. Shout out to Tom Lyles. Let's go. Live stream holding it down for us. Yeah, let's just rip it. Yeah, we'll be good. Yeah. Some will come in during it too. Yeah. Alrighty. We're going to get into a mailbag here. If you guys want to get up on show with me, hashtag Vikings. Great way to help support the show. Yeah. Try to get 12. Yeah. We appreciate you guys tuning in today, but we're going to dive into this mailbag. So hashtag Vikings, or if you guys want to skip the line and get your question right up on screen right away, super chatting is a great way to do so. Appreciate everybody tuning in today. Factor, yeah. They may focus more on Jalen Naylor. Yeah, they might. I mean, you got to. I mean, every single week, the defense's main focus is Justin Jefferson. Purple and gold bars. Seeps, I love you, but you're giving the Texans too much credit. They barely survived versus a bottom 10 team. If the Bears gave them a hard time, then our defense will embarrass them. I hear you, purple and gold. I hear you. Maybe I am giving the Texans too much love. I just think the Texans are a hell of a football team. I think if what equates to a great team in the NFL nowadays? Great coaching staff, they got that. Great defense, they got that. Great quarterback, plus a quarterback on a rookie deal, they got that. All types of weapons. I mean, they just have a lot, man. They just really have a lot. I'm with you. Purple and gold bars. Hey, I got the Vikings winning this weekend. I just want us to respect our opponent. Yeah. Any super chats that have questions, throw those on. Show no mercy. Yeah, I'm with you, Z Cool. I'm with you. No, I mean, listen, guys. I understand. I've been showing a lot of love to the Texans, and I got a couple comments on the video yesterday. They're like, "Dude, you're showing way too much love to Houston." It's just what I think about that football team. Like, I would honestly be more shocked if they're not in the AFC title, than if they are. Yep. Oh yeah. No, I got you. Just want to start with that Lattimore one. Yeah. No, the Lattimore one. Yeah. Just follow that. It'll be good. Tom Wiles saying Stroud will be running for his life. Yeah, I mean, Texans got a really good left tackle, but Vikings should be able to generate some sort of pressure. Hopefully. They definitely deserve what they've earned. I'm just going off evidence. I feel like it's going to be too much for them. Teams face Lamar for the first time. Yeah. It's a good point, purple and gold bars. Yeah, very good point. All right. Well, if you guys want to get into this mailbag, let's do it. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Let's get after it. It's mailbag time here on Vikings Now by Chat Sports. Welcome in, everybody. This is one of my favorite segments we do here at Chat Sports, where we answer your questions as a part of our weekly live shows. But before we dive into that, guys, I want the comment section to look like how US Bank Stadium is going to look this Sunday with the Houston Texans rolling in. If you guys want the Vikings to move to 3-0, undefeated, give me a skull down below in the comment section right there. I want the comment section to look like this. Just a whole bunch of skulls flooded the chat. So if you guys could, give me a couple skulls actually down below in the comments. But first question then, Skull Nation, how you doing? Saying, should the Vikings trade for Marshawn Lattimore? 110%. With the Saints starting off 2-0, I think this dream is a little less likely than it once was. But, the Saints are in cap space hell for the next 3 seasons. And moving off a guy like Lattimore, would definitely help them. And Lattimore, he's not the same, top 5 corner in the league that he once was, but he's still top 12. Like, he actually put out some of the best tape, in my opinion, out of any corner I've seen going up against Justin Jefferson. But, this year, he only played in 1 game. He was a scratch versus the Dallas Cowboys. And, injuries have been his biggest issue. I wouldn't give up a 3rd, 4th round pick. The max I'm giving up right now would be a 5th round pick for Marshawn Lattimore. Just dive into like that 2026 draft capital you have. But hey, if it's a 6th round pick, 5th round pick for Lattimore, just adding another corner back to that room, I'd be all in. But with how Byron Murphy and Stephon Gilmore have played throughout the first 2 weeks, I don't think the Vikings are really looking at it any other corners to bring in. Like if one of those two would have to miss a game here and there for whatever reason, I feel like they're more than comfortable with having Shaq Griffin, a K.O. Bevan step in there instead of maybe wasting draft capital and also cap space on Lattimore. His cap hit this year is $14 million. Next year it's 31. So I'd be in on trading for him if it's for maybe a 6th or 7th round pick. But I don't think I'd give up a 3rd or a 4th or a 5th anymore. But for a 6th or 7th, I'd be all in. But Roger Bong, $10 super chat, shout out to you, saying we shocked the NFL this week. Roger, I hope so, man. Big time matchup with the Houston Texans. Very excited about it. But I think this would be a win for the Vikings where I think right now inside that locker room, I think the vibe is like, man, we are a pretty good team. Like, I wonder how far we can take this type of thing where it's like, yeah, we're a playoff team. I'm not sure if we're a Super Bowl contender just yet. If you go out and you handle the Texans like you've done throughout the first 2 weeks, I mean, I can make an argument the Vikings should be the favorite to come out the NFC. I promise you, if the Vikings go out there and handle the Houston Texans this week, I will be saying the Vikings should be the favorite in the NFC. As crazy as that sounds. But it's a new year every year in the NFL. We got a top 5 coaching staff. If Darnold can just play like a top 12-ish quarterback in the league, there is enough talent on this football team where they can make a serious deep run this year in the playoffs. As crazy as that sounds, I'm actually giving myself chills talking about playing for a Super Bowl potentially this year. But Roger, I appreciate you, man. Z Cool, another real one, coming in with a super chat saying, what do you think of the new power rankings? Yeah, we can actually show you guys them. 5 big-time publications dropped their power rankings this past week, and I feel like the Vikings were actually rated pretty fairly, except by NFL.com. NFL.com did not rate them fairly whatsoever, but I definitely do think the Vikings, if they win this next week, they'll be ranked a lot higher across like the national media power rankings. But right now, my power rankings got them at 4, and I think that's completely fair. I went to Chiefs, Texans, Bills, Vikings. Then I went to the Chargers, Buccaneers, Lions, Saints. Then I still got 2 0-2 teams at 9 and 8. I think both the Ravens and the Bengals will end up, figuring it out. But Z Cool, I appreciate you, man, for tuning in and sending a super chat. But hey, Vikings win this week versus the Texans. It will be a whole lot of Vikings are ranked 5th, Vikings are ranked 3rd, 2nd, all that. So, hopefully we get a win. We get to see the new power rankings for next week. Was Zazy coming in saying #Vikings. When will Reisner be back? So he's on R right now. So the earliest he can come back is week 5. Before the 49ers game this past week, I was saying, Dalton Reisner, he for sure needs to play over a guy like Ed Ingram, who is really struggling versus the New York Giants. But Ed Ingram actually had a pretty good game against the Niners. Something I did not anticipate happening, as I thought a big reason why the Niners could beat the Vikings was a guy like Hargrave going against Ed Ingram and just ragdolling him like a guy like Dexter Lawrence did to him a week before. But I don't know when Reisner will officially be back. I'm assuming week 5, but I just don't think he will end up playing this year. I think the Vikings are so big on continuity across the offensive line as a big reason also why I think the offensive line has been so successful. I think that is also another under-talked about point in the NFL. Is continuity on your offensive line seriously matters. The Vikings have relatively the 4 of the 5 starters the last 3 or 4 years. I think that's a big reason why they've been so successful. So even if Reisner gets back, I just don't think he'll end up playing. But you guys let me know. Game this Sunday. Who you got? Type V for the Vikings or give me a T for the Texans in this star-studded Week 3 matchup. But before we dive into more questions, I want to tell you guys about today's sponsor, and that is Factor. If you guys head to factormeals.com/VikingsChat50, you guys will get 50% off your first box, plus 20% off your next month. That's code VikingsChat50 at factormeals.com/VikingsChat50 to get 50% off your first box, plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. Now, Factor has over 35 different meals to choose from and more than 60 add-ons. So you guys will always have new flavors to explore. And if you guys want to crush your wellness goals this month with dietitian-approved meals and ingredients that you can trust, Factor Meals is the way to go. Now, if you guys want to treat yourself also to some restaurant quality meals, Factor has that as well, as they have fillets, shrimp, blackened salmon, and a whole lot more. So keep kitchen time to a minimum. Factor meals are ready in 2 minutes. No shopping, prepping, cooking, or cleaning up needed. So head to factormeals.com/VikingsChat50 and use code VikingsChat50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. It's code VikingsChat50 at factormeals.com/VikingsChat50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. Aaron Jones' burner account tuning in, saying, are the Vikings Super Bowl contenders? I'm going to say, you guys are going to get pissed off at me. I'm going to say no as it stands right now. I am filming this video before the Houston Texans game. I am going to say no as it stands right now. Main reason why, I don't want to overreact to just a win versus the Niners. Because if the Vikings are Super Bowl contenders, would we be freaking out? No, we wouldn't. There's just another week. If the Vikings start stacking a lot more wins here, like you beat the Texans, I'll be saying the Vikings should be the favorite in the NFC. As Z Cool in the live chat saying, I'm unsubscribing. Yeah, I just don't think they're Super Bowl contenders just yet. It's only a couple weeks. Got to get a bigger sample size here, specifically on our quarterback, but I think we'll be good. But Aaron Jones, I appreciate you, man. Z Cool saying, how many sacks do we get against the Texans? Well, we got 5 in week 1. We got 6 in week 1, 5 in week 2. I'm going to go this week. I'll go a solid 4. I think the Vikings are going to get home 4 times. I think Van Ginkel is going to have 1, and I'm calling it right now. Jonathan Grenard, 3-sack game, revenge game, as they chose to pay Danielle Hunter over Jonathan Grenard. I think 58 is going to have a massive game versus the Texans this weekend. And Mac, what's going on, man? What is the weakness of the Texans defense? So really good secondary, really good linebacking core. I think their weakness is the run defense. I think you can run at Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson, as Hunter's always been okay against the run, but he's never been great. And, that's just his game. He's more of a true pass rusher, but I would not be scared to run at number 99, or now he's wearing 55 with the Texans, but run at Will Anderson, run at Danielle Hunter, get downhill. Like, I would not be shocked that the Vikings have a very San Francisco 49ers-esque game plan where it's like, our quarterback's only going to throw the ball 20 times. We'll take our chances when needed, but also we're going to run the ball down your throat. And I think that's what the Vikings are going to plan on doing this weekend. Aaron Jones, whole lot of Ty Chandler, get C.J. Ham in there as the lead blocker, and we can really get downhill against this Texans defense. Purple and gold bars, would you want to be selfish and want Sam to be our backup for this championship era, or would you want him to get paid? Purple and gold bars. Hard-hitting questions here. Okay, great question. Would you want to be selfish and want Sam to be our backup for this championship era? Would you want him to get paid? So, I guess hypothetically, I'll go with this. Like, let's just say the Vikes go 10-7. They win a playoff game. I think Darnold's starting next season. Like, if that's the situation, I hope he would be. Like, if you legitimately win 10 games and he has a great year, are we in any rush with JJ? Like, I think that's also something Vikings fans need to understand. Like, if Sam Darnold has a great year, it's not like the dude's 30, 31 years old. He's 27 hitting his prime, and he is going to get better each and every week and each and every year now. He has confidence, and I'll say this. If Darnold, for whatever reason, let's just say the Vikings have an unreal year. They're 12-5. They win the division. They get to the NFC Championship game. I'm paying Sam Darnold the Baker Mayfield contract. I'm giving him $30 million a year. And I love J.J. McCarthy. I think he's going to work out. But we are in no rush to see him. Like, J.J. is going to have to go through the same learning curves that Sam Darnold's already gone through. Like, Darnold's been through the lows of the NFL. He's been scolded. He kind of has that calluses already built up. If he ends up having a great year, you pay him, and I'm not kidding when I say this. Sam Darnold could be your franchise quarterback for the next 3 or 4 years, and you just kind of have JJ waiting in the reins. Eventually, when he could take over. But that is my one gripe that I've had with Vikings fans is like, and I see it on Twitter all the time where it's like, what are the Vikings going to do if Sam Darnold makes the NFC Championship? He's going to be your effing starting quarterback next year. There's no conversation. Like, if they are that successful this season with number 14 under center, why would we go the JJ? It honestly drives me crazy. Like, I see it on Vikings Twitter all the time. Like, oh, the Vikings could sign and trade Darnold. If he just got us to the playoffs and won a playoff game or two, I hope he's the quarterback next year. And sure, we'll talk about that a lot more in the offseason. But it also would be, I say this, it would be a great problem to have. But purple and gold, appreciate you. Tom Lyles coming in, saying 100-yard rusher this weekend, number 33 or 32. Good question here, Tom. Aaron Jones was close week 1 to getting to 100 yards. Ty Chandler was close this past week to getting to it. If I had to pick one this weekend, I'm going to go Ty Chandler. Yeah, I'm going to go Ty Chandler. I think Ty Chandler's going to have a massive game. I actually do think Aaron Jones might be a little hobbled up. And we'll have to wait till the injury report to come out. But if I had to pick one between Jones and Ty, give me Ty Chandler. Last question coming in from the Gray Warden, saying, what do you think the chances are of the Vikings 27-20, 3 TDs, 2 field goals for the Vikes, 2 TDs, 2 field goals for the Texans? Definitely a chance. 5 scoring drives versus the Texans defense would be a huge win for the offense. But I think the Vikings, the more I talk myself into this, I think the Vikings are going to smack the Texans this weekend. I can't see the Texans getting to 20. Like, I can't. And you guys can call me crazy, call me a homer, but I predicted the Giants. I will say this. I'm on it with my prediction so far. I said the Giants will score 6 points in week 1. Check. Said the Niners will score 16 points last week. Check. I think the Texans, you know what? I said 24-16 in my original prediction. I think it's 24-13. I think this defense really cements itself as like the Vikings may have the best defense in the league. That's going to be the storyline coming out of this game. It's not going to be around Sam Darnold, even if he has a good game. I think it's going to be like, oh shit, Ty Chandler just ran for 100 yards, and the Vikings have one of the better defenses in the league. And if Darnold can just hit JJ a couple of times on a couple big plays, the Vikings are going to win a lot of games. But Gray Warden, I appreciate you. Let's close the show with this. If you guys want the Vikes to beat the Texans this weekend, hit that thumbs up icon, like today's video. If you guys want the Vikes to get a 3rd straight victory to start off this year. Now, if you guys aren't following me on Twitter, I don't know what you're doing. I'm posting about the Vikes all year long. Hit me up over there. At Pat Sieps is the handle. And we'll see you guys next time. As always, go Vikes. All right, let me know who you guys got. V for the Vikes, T for the Texans. We are going to sign off here. We will see you guys next time. Really do appreciate everybody tuning in. Z Cool, M Mac. With Zazy, Tom Lyles, thank you guys so much. Dan Price, seriously, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'll see you guys all on Sunday, hour before the game. Can I ask you guys this before we sign off, though? Are you guys ready to be fans of a Super Bowl contender? Like, seriously, because honestly, with how excited we got over just a measly Week 2 win versus the Niners, I don't know if we're ready. Roger Bong, I don't know if you're ready to be a fan of a Super Bowl contender. Tom Lyles, are you ready? Is Z Cool ready? I think Z Cool might be the only one that's ready. Roger Bong just saying faith. Love it. Purple and gold bars. I love that. I love that. All right, we're going to sign off here, though. Appreciate you guys tuning in. See you guys next time. Skol Vikes.